I call this meeting of the Belleville Area District Library Board to order at 7:39. And we on our video calls, we are not able to do our Pledge of Allegiance, so we will move straight into the roll call. And I call on our Secretary, Alma Hughes Scrubs.
Okay, that's going to be Jehevitz,
Here.
Priest,
Yes.
Jariga,
Present.
Peters,
Yes, present.
Hughes Grubbs, here, and
Dawson.
Dawson, she's on the phone. I
She's,
see a phone.
yeah, wait just a minute and see if we can get her. She's muted.
Okay, I think she's unmuted now.
Mary
Okay,
Jane?
I'm here.
Oh, good.
I'm here.
Okay.
Good.
Hi.
Yay, yay. The
Hi,
only,
everybody.
hi, Mary
Hello.
Jane. The only thing we did was the roll call, and you got here in time to say here. So thank you.
Okay.
Did I hear Tanya's name?
But she's not on the board. You have to wait a minute, John.
Okay,
Just hold
okay.
off.
All right.
Okay,
And
that
now-
completes the roll call, I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
that
Okay.
completes the roll call. Thank you very much. And now we're to item 2, which is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
It's moved by Jariga,
I second.
Second.
seconded by Priest. I
Yeah.
heard her first. That the agenda as circulated be approved. Is there any discussion? Anybody have something they want to change or add? You can, if you do later on, it's fine. All those in favor of approval of the agenda signify by saying aye. Oh, no,
Aye.
we have to have
Roll
roll
call.
call votes for
Oh.
everything because we're a virtual meeting. I'm sorry. We just keep working Alma harder and harder.
Okay.
Alma,
Okay, Jariga,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Jehevitz,
Yes.
Peters,
yes.
Dawson,
Yes.
okay. Hughes Grubbs, yes.
The motion carries. Yes, the motion carries with no dissenting votes. Now we have approval of the June 9th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. This also requires a roll call vote, and they were in the packet that Mary Jane emailed out.
It says June 10th.
It should have been, let me see. I believe it was June 10th. Our agenda says June 9th. Mary
Okay.
Jo and I kind of goofed.
Okay.
Sorry, I think June 10th, and the minutes that you have are June 10th. And that was the day. We're sorry for the confusion.
Actually,
Oh, is that wrong?
yeah, it should say June 9th.
Okay.
So that needs to be
June 9th?
corrected. Yeah, Tuesday, June 9th was the meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
as I live and breathe. Yes, that is true. So the motion, the agenda is correct. And before we vote on these minutes, there's a correction of the date that needs to take place.
Yes.
And have these minutes been moved?
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
I second.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved by Priest and supported by Dawson that the minutes for June 9th be approved as corrected. Are there any other comments? Any other comments or any other thing you noticed in the minutes that you wanted to address before we vote? Seeing none, I will call on the secretary for another roll call.
Okay, that's going to be Jariga,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Jehevitz,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes.
Hughes Grubbs. Yes.
That is all of the official board, and so those minutes are approved with no dissenting votes. We are now at the point of our agenda for public comment. And we do have a member of the public here. Rosemary, if you want to unmute and if there's anything you have to add, now is the time. Hearing none, I'm thinking we don't have any public comment today. Which means we'll move on to item 5 on our agenda, which is a resolution to fill the library board member vacancy. And that resolution was in your packet. And you might take a minute to look over it. What will be in order is a motion to insert the name, the appropriate name in the resolution, and I'll let the maker of the motion.
I make a motion that we insert Tanya Stoudemire's name in that resolution.
I second.
Okay, well, it was moved by Mary Jane Dawson and supported by Alma Hughes Grubbs that we appoint Tanya Stoudemire to fill this vacancy in our board. And I guess we better take a vote before we do any celebrating. But this is an opportunity. Since Tanya is able to join us, I'd ask that she respond to accept the nomination.
Madam Chair,
What?
I think there needs to be a discussion
Okay.
before the vote.
All right, there is, I was asking for an acceptance of the nomination before we discussed it. I wasn't trying to cut out the discussion.
Okay.
That's all right?
Madam
Pardon?
Chair,
Yes.
this is Tanya. So yes, I accept the nomination, and I
Good.
really am grateful for that nomination.
Okay, it has been.
Okay,
moved.
so
And now it is appropriate for
so I can talk.
discussion. Yeah, Mary.
I can talk. Tanya, I wish I could see you tonight, but I'm glad to hear you tonight, and I'm glad that you accepted this.
That means so much coming from you. I really appreciate that. I'm looking
No
forward
problem.
to, I'm looking forward to coming back.
If I could sing that song, Welcome Back, I'd sing it, but you don't want to hear me sing.
Well, as maker of the motion, Mary Jane is the lead in bringing you back, but I also have to tell you, Tanya, I heard from many of the board members that there was hope that you would rejoin us. And I also have to tell the rest of you that I had to promise Bill's in her backyard if she would say yes. So Tanya, I'm practicing. I haven't got it together yet.
I have 911 on speed dial.
and you're going to need it.
Video, lots of video.
Or just tell us when you're doing it, we'll all show up.
You're gonna have to show up to roll me over. Anyway.
Welcome back, Tanya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess we do have to take the vote, but is there any other comment that needs to happen before we vote? We can. Okay, then I ask our secretary to take this most important roll.
Okay, that's going to be Jariga.
Yes, and welcome, Tanya.
Thank you.
Linda.
Yeah. Yes, welcome.
Yes, and happily.
Peters,
Yes, and with a great sigh of relief.
Dawson,
Absolutely.
and Hughes Grubbs. Thank you, thank you, thank you for accepting. Really
Thank you all.
appreciate it. Look forward to working with you again. And like I said, thank you for accepting. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
With all of that, we have a unanimous vote, and therefore Tanya Stoudemire is an official member of this board, and in the remaining portion of the board meeting, you can take place and vote and all of that, Tanya. It is so important in that we are in the middle of such a big project that we be able to maintain our momentum. Such a strong member of this team up until a couple years ago. So just look at it that you had a little short vacation and you're back with us just before we finish up the whole thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you guys have done a remarkable job. I mean, from what I've seen, the library looks absolutely gorgeous. So I'm so proud of all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's great.
I can tell you how many hours of meetings there have been.
Yeah, John, this is your time to pipe up.
212 and a half.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was doing that before you left.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess we'll move right along because we do have some stuff we're supposed to talk about tonight. We are moving into committee reports, and the building committee. We'll start with the building committee, and I'll ask Mary Jo to do the building committee first part, and we had it actually a building committee in two parts, and then we will talk specifically about the donor wall. Mary Jo?
Okay. I'm sorry, Hillary's having trouble with her connection. Let me just, Hillary, you can put me on as a co-host in case your computer crashes. Okay. My notes. The irrigation system has been installed. The landscaping on Roy Street has been installed. I think you have, hopefully if you've driven by, you have seen that. The green roof has gone in. Yesterday, as you all know, the old library was demolished. I was not expecting it to be so fast. It was all gone in one day, and it was emotional. It's necessary, but it was still emotional. I'm probably not going to say too much more about it because I'll start to cry. Building committee, a couple of things at their last meeting, and they had a meeting again yesterday to kind of resolve a few things. One of them we're going to talk about a little bit later, and that's the donor wall. The other item is the boiler system. And there had been some issues with trying to get the heating correct over during the winter months, January, February. It's a new system, so it took a while to figure out what the actual problem was. The entire, there's a time period where the entire building hadn't been fully closed in yet. The loads needed to be balanced, things like that. So once all of those items got looked at, they realized that the boilers were not sized correctly. And this was due to an error in a calculation that the mechanical engineer made. This error happened because the boilers had to be resized when we down the scope of the project. At one point, in order to save money, we looked at getting rid of the glycol system and getting rid of some of the radiant heat that was around the exterior portion of the building. The entryway pavement, things like that. And when they made those recalculations, they made an error. And so we've been looking at potential solutions in order to address that problem. came to us with a proposal for 3 different solutions. One of them was to our existing boilers. This is a solution that generally they use when they're at, if for example, we were putting an addition on the building, this would be the route that we would take. The second solution, I don't think anybody really liked all that much. We kind of didn't go into it in too much detail because it just wasn't quite feasible. The third solution would be to pull the existing boilers out and replace them with 2 boilers that are the correct size. Solution does cost more money than solution number 1, but it would be the cleanest, least complicated solution moving forward. Any of the solutions would work. Discussing this, we looked at it, and since it was the fault of the mechanical engineer, we are looking at the insurance company in order to kind of hold us harmless in some of the changes that we need to make.
You said that they will, or you don't know?
We're going to pursue this with Dan and his mechanical engineer are going to pursue this with their insurance companies.
Okay.
And I'd like to add a couple of things to that. Dan and the mechanical engineering both admitted and realized it was a mistake on their part. They aren't trying to hide it or anything like that. So they're doing their best effort to follow up with this and see what can happen. And we're waiting to find out the next steps.
I'd just add that the building committee has their regular meeting again next week, next Tuesday, and this will be a topic for continuing discussion at the building committee, and one that the whole board will be updated on regularly. Mary Jane or John, did you have anything to add on, because you participated in both those meetings?
Yes, I talked to Dean today. He said the best case scenario is if we can get this settled by August and get the new system put in. Besides the new boiler, we need to change all the plumbing from 1.5 inch to 2 inch pipe. But he says if you had to do this in September and October, the building could get chilly. So the best time is the end of August, and he's got to line up an electrician, the plumber, and the boiler company to do this. And it's not an easy task, to do that all at once. So, but it will take a week to replace. And
So I think, Joy, that the building committee is committed to keeping a close eye on this and
Yeah,
hoping to move it along.
it was, from what Dan understands is there was one drawing that had it correct, and then another drawing after downsizing, something changed and it wasn't correct anymore. So it was built incorrectly.
Speaking to Dean again today, the big problem is getting those telephone poles moved from the alley, because he's got to take out 5 feet of dirt and put the retention pond in there, and he can't do that with the poles there, because it'd be if he put the retention pond in where it's supposed to be, it'll compromise those poles presently where they are, and they could fall over and we could get sued. But the thing is, Dean is working now and trying to get the engineers to let him move that over, possibly move the retention pond over, get it more away from the poles. But right now, he's been working on moving those telephone poles well over a year now.
Actually, John, I could update the board. Those poles we did move because I want to make sure the board remembers that in the first phase of the pole relocation, I worked with Dean, and I'm working with him now with the close friend and former colleague of mine who was a vice president at DTE. And they did, the first phase of relocation took a long, long time, but it did move along after she got involved. I talked to Dean today too, John, probably after you did, and also got all the details from him, and reached out to her. She had texted me back that she was around, so I sent an email, which I also copied to Dean and Mary Jo, about moving this along. So we're hopeful that the same approach that we tried the last time will work, but this too will be something that everybody will have to be updated on. So I think that covers the things we've talked about. Are there any other questions, especially from those of you who are not on the building committee, or are there any comments from Mary Jane, who is on the building committee, before we talk about the donor wall?
Am I muted or unmuted?
No,
I hear
you're
you.
on.
Okay, I don't have any comments. And I'm still trying to find my mute button on the phone, so you don't have to listen to all the time.
Well, I'm glad you could join us, and I really wanted to just make sure that we weren't forgetting anything.
Nope, sounds good.
Okay. Then our next is a chance. Mary Jo provided you with some diagrams and of the ideas about the donor wall. And since those ideas have changed a bit since even the building committee looked at this last week, but this is a change from what Dan had been talking about earlier. And as you know, we had an ad hoc subcommittee on fund development, which I had chaired and which a number of the people in the arts committee helped. And so I worked with I had also worked to raise the money, but I've been working with Mary Jo all the way along on the donor recognition and interacting with the donors. So to update you, we were to have already had an event for donors, but that will have to come later. This idea that's before you, I hope, does everybody have this paper copy?
Yeah.
I do not have the means to stick it on the screen the way Dan does. You don't have that either, do you, Mary Jo? No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll go ahead, because I've met with Mary Jo and Dan on this a couple of times, and I'll tell you, Dan he has always wanted to put the donor wall adjacent to those windows at the very end, the inner windows at the very entrance of the new building. And those would be the inside of the panels that make up the vestibule as you're walking into the curve. And we hardly can remember because we've not been in there a lot, but as you're walking into the building, you're in a vestibule, and these donor panels would be backed up to that wall. And that's why Dan and Jennifer, the interior designer, were suggesting that we go this route, which is lighter and more light will come through than if we use the water pattern backing that he had first suggested.
What are these made out of?
Pardon?
What are these panels made out of?
Made of. The other benefit of this is that it is flexible. The panels, actually, there are the cords, the series. Oh my goodness, there it is. There are the series of cords that go floor to ceiling, and the actual nameplates, which were about 2 inches by a foot, will be attached to those cords. and they're completely flexible. They can be moved, they can be added to. If a donor, the donors will be categorized, as we had identified earlier, by different categories: gold, platinum, diamond, and benefactor, the other way around, benefactor being the highest. And if a donor gives over time, they can be moved up into a higher category. So the little panels that the names are on are made of, it's not metal, but some kind of a durable material. I don't know if Mary Jo remembers exactly what they said.
Something like what goes on plaques.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's not a metal plaque engraved, but it is some kind of plastic or some that the name. Dan has had a panel that he could show us exactly how the names would look on these pieces. But that he and Jennifer suggested this because it was the most flexible and the most light change, letting in the most light. And they also suggest that the color variation just be in there for design purposes, that all these names will be organized by the amounts that they gave, but the colors wanted to be randomly attached or randomly placed for the purpose of how it's going to look. So they randomly placed it in this mock-up.
I didn't know if they were see-through or something because they're in the windows.
They're a little bit translucent, or
Okay.
parts of them. It's some kind of.
It's a space in between them that really you see
Yeah.
through.
Mm.
It's not so much that you see through the little plaque as it is that you see through all that space. And there are
That's
empty
light in?
spaces.
The light comes through them, it sounds like, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. This sounds nice.
There are purposely empty spaces because of the design that Jennifer is urging, but those empty spaces will also afford us to have to add other donors as time goes on. The donors who donated by the end of 2019 will be signified with an asterisk, and they will be identified as our charter donors. And there will be a little footnote at the footnote on a piece identifying that. But otherwise, when people donate into the future, their names can be added onto these panels.
Looks good.
So I wonder if there's other comments or questions. Oh yeah, you see in the piece that Mary Jo sent us, you see how the lettering is envisioned to look.
Mhm.
There you go. She's showing us all of this. Yeah. So that's what we've been discussing. We have not, we're not having lots of meetings. So the people well, really, it's been this board that has been making the decisions on donor appreciation. So it's important that all of you see this. And it's a time for any questions from those who were at the building committee meeting or those who were not.
Okay, I gotta go.
It shows an option 1 and an option 2.
Uh-huh.
And what does, so you're, so you'll choose one or the other, and I don't see that much of a difference.
There really isn't. I believe in the option 2, some of the little panels are bigger than
Oh,
the
yeah.
one, and but that would mean that it wouldn't be quite as flexible
Right.
in interchanging from a person moving up the categories.
So
I
you're leaning towards option 1.
Yeah, that was at the end of the meeting, it was option 1 that we were looking at.
Okay.
And we are really eager to bring all those people that made such great donations to help us. Well, we're all eager to get back in that library. Anyway, I don't want to belabor it, and I appreciate people having the chance to look at this. Try to get some light on. Okay.
And Sharon, this is easy enough for staff to be able to maintain, and staff would be able to insert the names and move the names themselves.
That's what we're told.
Okay.
And those enlarged things on the side, the middle one shows a little thing. According to Dan, it's with an Allen wrench, and we'll be able to make changes. The other thing that they've said on this is that we can also add totally additionally new panels if by some reason we started getting so many donors that we couldn't just fill in the blanks. So we could even add on to this in the future, but with the number of donors we have now, this looked to be about the right amount of the right size.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I sure will love it when we get in the building and we can all go up and look right at the place where it's to go.
Yeah.
How long will it take to get it all together, ordered and all of that?
The biggest part, and Mary Jo has put together the spreadsheet. So the biggest part is just making sure we have all the names exactly right. And that's about finished. But from Jennifer and Dan, they sounded like the production of this, especially, is not real complicated. And so it won't take a lot of time. Mary Jo, you might add to that if you have better recollection.
Yeah, I don't remember if they said how long it would take, but I don't think it will be too long.
Well, we're not going to have a grand opening anytime soon. so
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Fortunately.
Well, definitely. Also, yeah, and Dan did tell us they are moving along with the manufacture of the lettering for the other signage in the building, for like the atrium and the COSAD room and the early childhood center that we've been the recipients of donations for. So
We actually met with the sign rep yesterday, did a walkthrough of the building to look at where all of the signage is going. Not only the donor signage, but also like the end panel signage, wayfinding signs, restroom signs, things like that as well.
So things are going on inside there, even though we can't get in. Yeah, Mary Jo hasn't just been turning cartwheels in there. She's been working.
Sliding down the rails. How many people have slid down?
Right. Okay. And actually, we will talk more about what Mary Jo's been doing in there in just a few minutes, but I want us to keep ourselves moving along. And as far as I know, that might be the end of what we need to do in the building committee, right? Okay. Then we'll go through the rest of these, which would be John, the bylaws committee.
I have nothing.
And the Finance Committee is actually vacant now. I want to tell you, Tanya, we split things a little differently, and Joy took on being the official treasurer, but Barbara was chair of the Finance Committee.
Oh, sounds like there's an opening.
Yeah. and she did very well, but and we will miss her, but we are sure happy to have you back in that seat. I think I can announce I'll make a very quick appointment to fill that chair. But we've also finished the budget for this year, Tanya. So you can
I saw that.
Yeah,
Right.
you
Perfect
get to-
timing.
Right, you get to come in when you can breathe a sigh of relief. The next item, I haven't totally conferred with Alma on this, but I felt like it fit in marketing. We just needed a full discussion. Obviously, we can't do the grand opening the way we had planned. And we had dates all, and I don't know that we can have dates again, but just for general input from the entire board, in terms of thinking, whether we might be thinking of staged openings. I mean, certainly we're opening in stages to the public, but just input on what your thoughts are about grand opening and what we should be thinking about, or what we should be, if we should be responding to the questions that come to us on that. I'd like it to be a group effort.
What kind of questions? When are we going to have it?
Yeah.
Or is it just when we're going to open?
Well, the one we're going to open, I think we can tell them the stages, you know, and those we have to kind of get from Mary Jo, and she's going to talk to us about the next stage that we're doing. And I think we should tell everybody about the staged opening.
So are there capacity restrictions, or how does that work?
Yes, right now we can have no more than 25% occupancy in the building. Plus,
What is that number?
it depends on what areas of the building we open to, so it gets a little bit complicated. The overall, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, so don't be to this. I think for 25% of the entire building is 171 people, but if you go into different areas, that changes. So a program room will have a larger occupancy than a browsing area, for example. So I actually got some updated information from Dan regarding occupancy numbers for example, our lobby area, or like the popular materials area, the children's room, things like that.
The occupancy numbers don't include the meeting room occupancy, do they? Or
well, they do. That's why it's a little misleading.
But you think so you're saying it would be 4 times that number. 171 times 4 would be the full occupancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So haven't looked at governor's orders for a while. What is our allowed occupancy now?
25%.
So you're saying we could have a socially distanced party for 171 people?
Or we could have multiple parties.
Right now, we're kind of discouraging any kind of group
Yeah.
gathers. That's why the board is meeting online.
Yeah. And that number always includes staff as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And what about browsing, having people come in and browse? Will there be a time limit on that? And how will that work?
We're looking at doing that way, yes.
Okay.
But I mean, what other options are you thinking of, Sharon, when it comes to a grand opening event is what you're referring to, right?
Right, more the event. I really have been, John, did you want to say something first?
No,
Oh, okay.
thank you.
I really have been thinking about, I'm sure there will come a day when we could have the kind of grand opening that we had first envisioned. I don't see that happening this winter. I don't see it happening until into 2021. I don't even know for sure then, but I wondered if we all agreed on that, or if there were people who felt we should be doing something earlier, and maybe if we start thinking if there were things. Mary Jane always has a good thinking cap for this kind of stuff.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello. This is MJ.
hi
Yeah.
MJ.
Okay. So I finally figured out how to unmute myself. Anyway, my feeling about having a grand opening needs to be when the library is actually open completely. Without restrictions, maybe you have to wear a mask, but it should be open to everyone if it's going to be a grand opening, because that's what we had originally planned. We had planned for July 25th. Everybody was welcome. We were going to have refreshments. There was going to be some jazz music across the street or on 4th Street. And I really think that we need to do that. As far as the donor celebration, that could probably be held a little bit sooner, because we were going to do that sooner anyway. But I have a real problem with having a grand opening and not allowing everybody to be in the building,
Yeah.
even if that takes a year.
Mhm.
But that's my opinion, and I'd be interested in hearing what the rest of you have to say.
Me too.
I agree with that. I think anything less is really going to be so limiting to our community. It's not worth doing.
Yeah.
But it is. I do agree about the having the donor event, because it's a much smaller group of people, and when we feel like that's safe to do that earlier, might be possible.
Anybody else? Alma, do you have any thoughts on it?
I agree, because this has been a community effort, and we don't want to exclude people. And they're paying a lot in taxes to have this library. So I don't think we should offend people by minimizing the amount of people that can attend. And if it's next year, it's next year. I mean, it's not uncommon for grand openings to happen after a store's been open a year, 2 years, or something like that. So I don't think it's unreasonable.
I think the
So-
community will understand the reason that we're doing it this way.
I think
So-
doing it any other way is, well, I mean, you'd have to say no to people,
Mhm.
allowing only so many people in, and then there's
And that's not fair.
no,
Right.
it's not fair, and it's a risk anyway.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a
Right.
risk. Even for donors. I think 171 people in that building, that's going to be yes, you can be socially distanced, but it's also going to be easy to run into people, and
Mhm.
we don't want any kind of negativity surrounding this.
Right. And it's a closed-in environment also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know they go into stores and stuff like that, but I think that's different.
Well, as we had envisioned it in the first place, which was to be the Saturday after this coming Saturday, we had envisioned a lot of outside activities. And so that would, we hopefully by sometime early in 2021, we'll have some sense of where this is going to be. But if we had to wait, and we were fortunate enough to be able to do it within a year from now, then we could have the kind of event we envisioned. But I think I'm hearing from everybody that we can't even, that we can be sure that it will not be in this calendar year, and we will open it when we will have a grand celebration when gatherings are safe.
And
Right.
the grand opening was supposed to be when all was done. The parking would be done. All
Mhm.
those things are delayed, and
Mhm.
I think it just makes sense to delay that also.
Yeah.
They park.
The other thing to consider too is that everyone knows that that events have either been canceled or postponed because of the COVID virus.
Mhm.
And I don't think that anybody is going to wonder why we waited so long to have the grand opening.
Right.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. So are we saying that we would have something in the near future for the donors, but then the grand opening would be later, or we would be holding off both events?
No, I'll explain. We had in the plan that we had been talking about, we were going to have a reception for the donors a few weeks or a month prior to the grand opening for everyone. We don't want to have the reception for the donors until all the donor acknowledgement is up and donor wall and signs and everything is done. We were planning to have it very close to the grand opening. And again, I think what I'm hearing is that people want these to be festive events and for people to gather feeling secure. So while the donor event probably will be less people crowding in at one time, it would still be a pretty good amount. So the likelihood is that the donor event won't be until fairly close to the time that we'd have fairly close to the time that we really feel safe about having lots of people in the building.
I think that's a good decision. I was concerned that maybe you were going to try to have the donor event sooner, and then the grand opening may not be for another 6 months, and the community might not like that. But as long as the plan is still to have them close together, I think that's a great idea.
But when we can have everybody in the building.
Yeah.
Maybe with a mask, maybe with masks and maybe with social distancing, but that we don't have to leave people out because they're in the wrong frame for how many people can be in the building.
Right. And the thing is, if masks are still a requirement at that time, we could even make that part of the festivities, some kind of masquerade ball or something, like that.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since we had a masquerade, we had a Mardi Gras masquerade to close the old building.
That's
right along a theme.
Yeah.
But they'd have to wear 2 masks if we do it like that. So we won't know who anybody is.
An eye mask and a mouth mask. Yeah, we'd all walk around anonymous party. Well, I appreciate hearing getting broad input from the whole board. John, is this something that you've had nothing to say about?
Of course I have something to say about it. I would like a mask-free function where we can greet, shake hands, and hug instead of having to wear a mask. That's just, it's so uncomfortable for me going through this thing because it's not natural. And I would like a natural setting.
Well, and if we're going to have food, it's an impossibility.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll take time.
Yeah.
But we can do it.
Okie dokie. It sounds like we're all in accord. And certainly this will be, the marketing committee will pick this back up again when the time gets where we have a little clearer vision of our timing. So thank you very much. There is, the next item on the agenda is the Personnel Committee. Linda?
No report.
And the Policy Committee, Mary Jane?
I don't have anything, but obviously we need to check to make sure we have a policy covering the liquor thing, the liquor district.
The what?
Okay, so the city council has voted to adopt this plan called DORA. I forget what it all stands for, but it's basically you could buy a drink at Johnny's, walk over to the Bayou, and then to Egan, and you usually you can't walk around downtown Belleville with liquor in a cup, but they have this thing called DORA, D-O-R-A. And we're technically in the district because we're between Johnny's and Egan's and the Bayou. But I think we need to have a policy that says that people cannot bring their alcoholic beverages into the building or sit on our benches and drink. They have to be someplace else.
Wow, we're getting like New Orleans, huh?
You're saying something about.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because they're trying to help the 3 local businesses that actually do serve alcohol. And that was one of the things, and the state legislature passed it, and the city agreed to doing it. I don't know, two meetings ago or 1 meeting ago or whatever. So you can actually go into any of these places and you buy this particular cup and they fill it with a particular beverage, whatever it is that you wanted, and you could go from Johnny's to the Bayou to Egan's.
Or once you have the cup, you can refill it from your purse.
Pardon me?
Once you have the cup, you can refill it from your purse.
Yeah.
Well, there's that too. There's that too.
For the cheap dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't know what that's like.
Alma, you're gonna need to
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is this policy supposed to extend through the summer, the fall, or is there an expiration date on it?
I don't think that there is an expiration date on it, because one of the things that the city council talked about was being able to do the beverage walk, so to speak, during Winterfest, which is in December.
Oh, okay.
But I can find out for you.
So they're allowing it with events where a lot of children are around and all of that.
Yeah, they just won't give beer to a kid. So we need to make sure that we have a policy. I think there is some type of an alcoholic policy.
Downtown outdoor refreshment area, is what that's called.
Right.
Yeah.
But that we need to post something at the library that says alcoholic beverages are not allowed on the premises or in the building.
What if they're obviously inebriated? I was at Joy's library, and I saw her run off this real big guy who smelled like booze, and the guy scared me, but it didn't scare her.
Of course not.
Joy. Nothing scares Joy.
Part of my regular life.
What I would say on this one is that, Mary Jane, I think we talked about this a little bit last time, and this would be an appropriate item for a policy committee agenda. I would also at this point ask Mary Jo and anybody else if there are other things that you'd like to suggest at this point that you'd like to suggest the policy committee think about. Because we've got—
That would be great.
We haven't looked at our code of conduct in a long time.
So we could do Jell-O shots.
Jell-O shots.
Code of conduct.
Are you saying we could do Jell-O shots until we change the policy?
I think we've got a party in mind here.
So
Yeah,
would we just
we're
put up
seeing what other
signs?
libraries are doing in regards to this, these DORA.
Is Dora everywhere or just in Belleville?
No, I see that
It's
it's in Toledo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
been approved for any of the communities that want to adopt the policy, is my understanding.
I see. Well, Mary Jane, you are always very thorough in how you look at these policies, so maybe you could research and see whether or not any other libraries have done anything on that, and put that one on the
Okay.
agenda, and then perhaps also the code, updating our code of conduct. If
Okay, I can do that.
a new building.
Does this involve beverages while I'm doing the research?
Yeah, sure. You should have as much fun as you can. And
Okay, I got it.
I think that Alma is the other member of that committee. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, then maybe you all might, well, if we, I don't know, we'll figure what happens about meetings. But it's something to think about, both of these. So we'll put those on the policy committee for future reports.
Okay,
And policy committee can meet with the Ring Central, and the whole thing is that Mary Jo would have to just set it up same way she sets up building committee meetings, and then, you know, the committee plus whoever else wanted to join could join on. So just keep it with Mary Jo and
okay,
set up a meeting. Thank
Okay.
you. We have-
okay.
Thank you. We have accounts payable to consider, and a motion, and then discussion in order. And again, we will be taking a roll call vote.
We're doing the
I
account.
make a motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I make a motion to accept the accounts payable as presented.
I'll second that one.
The motion by Dawson and support from Jeriga to approve the accounts payable, and now it's appropriate for discussion and questions. Who had a question? I thought I heard somebody raising something, but okay.
No, I was trying to, I was taking notes and just had a question, that's all.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Then we didn't, I guess we paid for most of the summer program stuff last meeting, but these are pretty usual kinds of expenses. So there's a motion and a support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the secretary to call the roll.
Okay. Jeriga,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Jehevitz,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes,
Peters,
Yes,
Hughes Grubbs. Yes.
and,
Stoudemire. Okay.
oh, you're muted, Tanya.
Unmute.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we all there is the unanimous vote, no dissenting votes. In your packet, there is, just for your perusal and your information, the payment packet for the construction group. These payments are reviewed by the building committee and signed off by Dan and Mary Jo before they go through. But we have always included this in the packet so that all board members will be fully informed, and the public, on how we're spending this money. And now, I want to say, before I introduce the next item on the agenda, I want to say how much I enjoyed seeing the Lions with.
Yeah.
See what?
I'm glad you
Lion.
still have a light heart, Mary Jo.
Somebody put one on our Harriet Tubman statue.
Ah,
Really?
I guess all statues are asking for it. Mary Jo?
Since our last meeting, where we passed our revised reopening policy and revised COVID plan, we have implemented 2 new services. We started out with our curbside service actually the day after the last board meeting. And that has been going very well. Actually find my director's report. I think we're having about 30
You said 30 to
people a
40.
day. 30 to 40 people a day are taking advantage of that. We've been kind of gradually building up some of our services. So in addition to being able to place books on and items on hold, people can also use our mobile printing services and make an appointment to come and pick up printouts as well. So we've been starting that. We started calling all of the people this week who we have been issuing library cards to while we've been closed, so that they could use our online services, so that they could actually physically make an appointment to come into the building and pick up their card. We just started rolling out and just started advertising this week some limited lobby services by appointment only. So people can now come in and do faxing, scanning, and copying. They still need to call us and make an appointment for that, and we will help them. So that's where we're at right now. I have a staff group that meets at least once a week, a reopening committee, to discuss next steps. Our next step is going to be looking at some kind of grab and go service where people can come in, find some books and materials to check out and check out their things and leave. We're looking at probably having like half-hour time limits. We do have to enforce occupancy requirements. And we've kind of gone back and forth about how much of the building to open up for that. I think to start with, at the very least, we will open up the popular materials area. That goes all the way from the entry all the way to the back of the library. So new books, large print, audiovisual, those items. More than likely, at the same time, we will open the children's room for browsing as well. So that's what we're looking at right now to start with. I don't have a specific timeline for that. We need to kind of go right now the limited lobby service and see how that is going before we start to delve into other areas. One of the biggest issues is going to be trying to enforce some kind of time limit so that and enforce occupancy, make sure everybody is aware of all of the rules that are in place regarding social distancing and also mask wearing. We'll have masks available. If anybody forgot their mask at home, we'll have paper masks available for the public. But we are requiring masks. As you probably know, the governor had a new executive order, I believe last Friday, with a little bit more teeth in the mask wearing law. So I think, Hillary, am I missing anything?
Sounded good to me.
Okay. You have any questions? I did give you a go ahead.
How did the use of Hoopla and you guys have Overdrive? I can't remember.
I hear you.
Do you have Overdrive? How
We
is
have
the
Overdrive.
resources been?
I think Hoopla's been doing pretty healthy. Overdrive has been okay.
Mm.
Hmm.
I don't think I've got that in my stats specifically.
Or
Mary
book?
Jo, can I jump in there?
Yeah.
I was just working on those. Hoopla probably saw the greatest increase of the two, but Overdrive is still doing well. We get about twice the number of users on Overdrive as we do on Hoopla.
Yeah.
The Hoopla users are power users, so yeah.
We're about even, which I was surprised at. But how many are you allowing?
6.
6? So I think I can add my Belleville library card to my Ipsy library kit and get more.
You power user, you.
I tell you.
You are such a prima donna.
We all learn so much by having a librarian on this board to talk library talk with Mary Jo. It all
We
helps.
do.
But that's really a good thing for all of us to think about in this time of COVID, those kind of uses Tanya, did you also have a comment?
I did have a comment. Yep, I wanted to ask Mary Jo, is the city or the township, are they donating like the hand sanitizers and the mask, or is that an expense that we're incurring?
That's an expense that we are incurring. We did get, it's through the CARES Act. I think we can get some money back to reimburse us for that. And actually of all people, our library card vendor really jumped into the breach and has been providing us with options for being able to purchase bulk hand sanitizer and bulk paper face masks and signs and everything that we need. So.
Who is that?
Ugly Dog has hand sanitizer, and they have really good bacon vodka.
That just sounds nasty.
Yeah.
No, Chelsea, it sounds really good.
Mary Jo, did you remember the vendor when, for your library card
Text
vendor?
it to me
Yeah,
later.
Metcom is the name.
Metcom. Okay.
Okay,
That sounds familiar.
okay.
Mary Jo,
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment and a question. So the comment is from one of the small business owners that has recently joined the Chamber of Commerce in Belleville. And she is so delighted that she was able to get her library card online.
Good.
Or from talking to you. She didn't say which one. And that she has just been so crazy about all the different selections she's been able to download, either through Overdrive or Hoopla.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, yes. And my question is, I've had a number of people ask me why they can't come into the library when other places have allowed a certain percentage of the people to, like bars and restaurants, why they can only do curbside service and now, make an appointment for faxing or copying.
Libraries are being, and us included, are being very conservative about this. We want to get this right. We do not want to be the next COVID hotspot.
Right.
And I think one of the differences between libraries and, say, a grocery store or even restaurants is when people are checking things out from libraries, you're getting them, libraries personnel get them back. So it makes, we have to go through quarantining process and all this stuff to make them safe again. Restaurants are using disposable stuff now, so they don't have to handle other people's pre-handled things. We have to have so many cautions just because of that one aspect of working in the library.
Right. And just updating the whole workflow.
Okay.
And in some ways, it's like once we let people in for so many of the services we provide, we have to be kind of close to them. We're like nurses in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I understand
that's
that.
been a big issue.
Yeah. Okay. I will reiterate that to the people who have asked me because that's basically what I've been telling them.
Yeah.
Well, and it's hard because we're set up to be a place where you can come and take your time and browse and sit and study.
Right.
And use a computer, and we need to convert to being a place where you come in, get your stuff, and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We didn't design our building that way.
Right.
We did just the opposite.
Right.
Exactly. And for the people who have asked me those questions, and there have probably been anywhere from 6 to 10 of them, that's exactly what I've told them.
I think the other part of it is libraries, it's a multi-generational place. It's not like in a store, most people are not bringing their children with them to stores.
Right.
Right.
You got all ages coming in here, old, young, little kids who can't totally control who they're going to run by and who they're going to hug and who they're going to touch. And
right.
we would have to be somewhat discriminatory on that, and we're not allowed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Joy, where is your library at? What are you guys, what stage what are you doing?
we've been doing curbside for a couple weeks. We're averaging about nearly 100 pickups a day at just Whitaker Road. Michigan Avenue is going to start next week with curbside
Okay.
at half capacity, 2 pickups instead of 4. We're doing a lot of outreach type things, but nothing is happening inside of our buildings. And we don't even have the plexiglass shields and stuff. So there's staff in the buildings doing things, but, and we're, printing now and again for people. And we are going to probably do printing and copying service here. Well, it'll really be printing and maybe a week, but nothing that requires anybody to be in the building yet.
Mm-hmm. And I think some of the people that have asked me these questions have just don't understand the whole concept of maybe social distancing, or nobody in their group has been affected, and why should it affect them that they can't go in the library?
Ann Arbor is self-help, from what I understand, in their lobbies. They've closed everything up. You just have lobby access, and it's pretty much a self-help system. I don't know how they're doing. I actually don't know how they're doing pickups.
I think they might have to pick up lacquers.
Okay. And we do at our little tiny branch. And so that's being heavily used, more heavily used than it's ever been.
And how's Sumter doing?
We haven't opened the branch up yet. We're trying to figure out the best way to, and we're having occupancy issues with the main, you can imagine what the occupancy.
Oh, yeah.
And
Now
so-
I wish we had those pickup lockers, though.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Are we, in Sumter, are people using the internet service there? Do you know? And is it operating
So
where
what, are you talking about the wireless?
Outside, yeah.
like coming in the
They have to be in the parking lot.
parking lot?
Yeah. And I've heard that it's not always the best signal, so we're working on trying to get a wireless access point outside the building.
Oh,
And that's what we have done too in my building and at the little Superior branch. But the big library is so far from the parking lots that it has metal roofs. It's impossible to get a signal, even inside the building most of the time.
oh, wow.
And people do use it. I saw somebody using it today. We had lunch, one of the restaurants got outside and Wi-Fi. So it's a little something. It feels
I think it'd be
feels
useful
bad.
it might be useful in Sumter. Have you happened to go by there, Joy?
I can't say that I know.
Okay, that's okay. I appreciate the discussion, and thank you very much for the report, Mary Jo. It really does underscore the stages and the way we have to think about stages and think about service. Now we're at the point of our agenda where we're officially in trustee comments. We've all been commenting, but we will go, instead of around the table, I'll go around the box. And I'll start with John.
John?
Okay, I'm listening. I would like to welcome Tanya. Great to have you back. Thank you for making.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Oh, that's quick. Linda?
Well, I went by the library, the old library and the new library today, and I looked at what's going to be the parking lot and just imagined a lot of cars in there. And I'm really looking forward to that day when we have a lot of cars in the parking lot and people in the library. So hopeful.
Good, good, hopeful. Joy, you're next on my screen.
I had to miss a building committee meeting, well, not the last one, but the one before that. And I want to thank the rest of the building committee for handling kind of a complicated issue, I thought. And I also want to give kudos to the team that we have, because they I think it just kind of reinforced. We could be working with folks who are, trying to hide things from us and all that stuff. It just kind of reinforced that we made good choices between Dan and O'Neill.
Good. You have,
Even though there was a mistake, but they're not trying to hide it. It could be so much worse.
and we haven't had mistakes, so we're doing really well. You've done a wonderful job of leading that effort of herding the cats. Tanya, you might go next.
Okay, I just wanted to thank everybody for their warm welcome, and I'm really looking forward to working with everyone again, and especially getting to work with Linda. And I'm looking forward to talking to Mary Jo about, how we can get maybe some of the CARES Act money to help with our expenses.
Good. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I saved Alma to last because she's trying to take notes and what she has to say. Alma?
Hey, I have comments.
I'm sorry, you're next. I'm sorry, I was looking.
Hard to recognize
Well,
you.
no, I can go after Elma. I just didn't want to be forgotten in the loop.
I appreciate it, really did. I needed the name, Anyway, your box just has a telephone number. I want to call on
I know.
Mary Jane's number.
And I took a shower today and brushed my teeth, and I didn't even get to be on camera. Tanya, I am so happy that you made the decision to come back to our group. I'm really, really thankful that you decided that you could do that for us and for the community. It's wonderful. So welcome back.
Thank you.
If I were there in person, I'd give you a hug.
No.
And thank you to the rest of the board members for supporting the building committee in some of the decisions we've had to make. I think this last one was one of the most stressful, but I think we made a good decision. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Now, Alma.
Okay, just wanted to thank the building committee as usual for their diligence and the amount of hours that they put in and the commitment. And also to welcome Tanya back. Very, very excited that you're back with us. Look forward to working with you again.
I think Alma was the first to come to me saying, can we get Tanya back? So anyway, this is all a very big happy homecoming meeting. And it's time for the chair comments. I think these are challenging times, and doing this over the internet is strange. And I do know that there are times when people are trying to talk or want to say something, and I might not see them, or we may not. Well, it's just not the way we're more a group that likes to hug after the meeting. So I'm glad that we've been able to find a way to get our business done in this environment, which isn't quite natural for most of us, but we've accomplished a whole lot. We have more to go, and I do offer kind of sympathies on the memories that went down with the wrecking ball yesterday. But we have many new memories to make. And with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, it's exactly 8:58. I make a motion that this meeting be adjourned.
I second.
I third.
It's moved and supported, and we don't have to do a roll call on this.
Yes.
We do?
We do?
Honestly. That Mary Jo, she's a hard man. Alma?
Okay. Jariga,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Jehevitz,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Dawson,
I'm still thinking about this. Yes.
That's because you can drink and meet at the same time.
I only have lemonade.
What? No bacon vodka?
No, no, no. That goes with clamato juice or Bloody Marys.
Oh.
No, group. All I have is cranberry juice, but I also vote yes. So it's unanimous.
and Hughes Grubbs. Yes, it's unanimous.
It is unanimous. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.